नमस्कार, मैं दुबई। जिंदगी कितनी कीमती है, अगर इसका पता लगाना है तो एक बार अफगानिस्तान की तरफ अपनी नजर घुमा लीजिए। अफगानिस्तान की सरजमी पर तालिबान ने मौत का वो फरमान जारी कर दिया जिसे पढ़ने और देखने के बाद हर किसी की रूह कांप उठ रही। बीते कई दिनों से अलग अलग तरह की तस्वीरें सामने आ रही, जिसे देखने के बाद विश्वास करना मुश्किल होता जा रहा है। ऐसे समय में अमेरिकी राष्ट्रपति जो बाइडेन का अफगानिस्तान को लेकर बयान काफी महत्वपूर्ण माना जा रहा है। अफगानिस्तान संकट पर अमेरिकी राष्ट्रपति जो बाइडेन ने मंगलवार को अमेरिका को संबोधित किया। तालिबान के कब्जे और अफगानिस्तान में बिगड़े हालात को लेकर बाइडेन ने अशरफ गनी पर ठीकरा फोड़ा। उन्होंने कहा कि
So what's happened? Afghanistan political leaders gave up and fled the country. The Afghan military collapsed, sometime without trying to fight.
राष्ट्रपति जो बाइडेन ने अपने संबोधन की शुरुआत में कहा, अफगानिस्तान में हालात अचानक बदले और वहां स्थिति गंभीर। उन्होंने अमेरिकी सेना को वापस बुलाए जाने के फैसले को भी सही करार दिया। उन्होंने कहा कि
If anything, the developments of the past week reinforced that ending U.S. military involvement in Afghanistan now was the right decision. American troops cannot and should not be fighting in a war and dying in a war that Afghan forces are not willing to fight for themselves.
वहीं बाइडेन ने अफगानिस्तान से अमेरिकी सैनिकों को वापस लाए जाने को लेकर चलाए जा रहे ऑपरेशन के बीच तालिबान को चेताया है और कहा कि अगर अमेरिकी सैनिकों को नुकसान पहुंचा तो तालिबान को इसकी भारी कीमत चुकानी पड़ेगी।
This advice was flatly refused. Mr. Ghani insisted that the Afghan forces would fight, but obviously he was wrong. So I'm left again to ask of those who argue that we should stay. How many more generations of America's daughters and sons would you have me send to fight Afghanistan's civil war when Afghan troops will not? How many more lives, American lives, is it worth? How many endless rows of headstones at Arlington National Cemetery? I'm clear on my answer. I will not repeat the mistakes we've made in the past. Mistake of staying and fighting indefinitely in a conflict that is not in the national interest of the United States, of doubling down on a civil war in a foreign country, of attempting to remake a country through the endless military deployments of U.S. forces. Those are the mistakes we cannot continue to repeat, because we have significant vital interest in the world that we cannot afford to ignore.
हालांकि बाइडेन ने यह भी कहा कि
I've been clear that human rights must be the center of our foreign policy, not the periphery. But the way to do it is not through endless military deployments. It's with our diplomacy, our economic tools, and rallying the world to join us. Let me lay out the current mission in Afghanistan. I was asked to authorize, and I did, 6,000 U.S. troops to deploy to Afghanistan for the purpose of assisting in the departure of U.S. and allied civilian personnel from Afghanistan and to evacuate our Afghan allies and vulnerable Afghans to safety outside of Afghanistan. Our troops are working to secure the airfield and to ensure continued operation of both the civilian and military flights. We're taking over air traffic control. We have safely shut down our embassy and transferred our diplomats. Our diplomatic presence is now consolidated at the airport as well.
बहरहाल आपको बता दें कि अफगानिस्तान वो दलदल है जहां वियतनाम युद्ध के बाद अमेरिकी फौजी सबसे लंबे समय से फंसे हुए। अमेरिका के सार्वजनिक विमर्श में ऊब और युद्ध की थकान छाई हुई। आखिर क्यों ना? 20 खरब डॉलर खर्च करने और तकरीबन 2,800 सैनिकों की जान गंवाने के बाद अमेरिका को हासिल क्या हुआ? साफ गोई से कहें तो अफगानिस्तान से उसकी वापसी पिछले 45 वर्षों में अमेरिका की विदेश नीति की सबसे बड़ी पराजय। ऐसे में ये बात सच साबित होती लगती है कि कोई भी विदेशी ताकत अफगानिस्तान पर कब्जा करने में सफल नहीं हुई।
I'm now the fourth American president to preside over war in Afghanistan. 2 Democrats and 2 Republicans. I will not pass this responsibility on to a 5th president. I will not mislead the American people by claiming that just a little more time in Afghanistan will make all the difference. Nor will I shrink from my share of responsibility for where we are today and how we must move forward from here. I am President of the United States of America, and the buck stops with me. I'm deeply saddened by the facts we now face, but I do not regret my decision to end America's warfighting in Afghanistan and maintain a laser focus on our counterterrorism missions there and other parts of the world. Our mission to degrade the terrorist threat of al-Qaeda in Afghanistan and kill Osama bin Laden was a success. Our decades-long effort to overcome centuries of history and permanently change and remake Afghanistan was not, and I wrote and believed it never could be. I cannot and will not ask our troops to fight on endlessly in another country's civil war, taking casualties, suffering life-shattering injuries, leaving families broken by grief and loss. This is not in our national security interest. It is not what the American people want. It is not what our troops, who have sacrificed so much over the past 2 decades, deserve. I made a commitment to the American people when I ran for president that I would bring America's military involvement in Afghanistan to an end. While it's been hard and messy, and yes, far from perfect, I've honored that commitment. More importantly, I made a commitment to the brave men and women who serve this nation that I wasn't going to ask them to continue to risk their lives in a military action that should have ended long ago. Our leaders did that in Vietnam when I got here as a young man. I will not do it in Afghanistan. I know my decision will be criticized, but I would rather take all that criticism than pass this decision on to another President of the United States, yet another one, a 5th one, because it's the right one, it's the right decision for our people, the right one for our brave service members who risk their lives serving our nation, and it's the right one for America. Thank you. May God protect our troops, our diplomats, and all brave Americans serving in harm's way.